From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Welcome to Sports Tonight, everybody, on this Thursday, on this jam-packed Sports Tonight. We got a lot of stuff in this show, Bailey.
We do, and it feels like Friday to me for some reason. Maybe because of
Why
all
is
the
that?
sports, too. I don't know. It just has Friday vibes. The vibes are good, unless you're an Atlanta Hawks fan.
Not good vibes. Not good vibes for the Hawks. They're headed home after they were, which was surprising. Okay, I'll come on here and I'll say, I remember last night when we were talking about predictions for the game, I predicted that the Hawks would win. I predicted that they would beat the Bulls.
You did.
They did not beat the Bulls.
They did not. It was much more of the same. Just poor offensive rounds, not really hitting too much, not getting it done on defense with stops. Kobe White lit him up out of all the people. You know, I think DeMar DeRozan is who they had their eyes on and were trying to double him. And,
Yeah.
but the game plan almost seemed like it was overthought a little bit too, and I think the players felt that way, especially hearing DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and what they were saying.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's look back. The first quarter, the Bulls put up 40, I think, their largest lead and most in the first quarter all season. Not great. Now, the Hawks came back and opened up the second with a 14-0 run. That's a response.
Yeah.
Now, you can't put it all on them. Obviously, there are injuries. And I think there's more questions now than there are answers. You have to believe someone is going to get dished out, whether that's DeJounte Murray in a trade or Trae Young in a trade.
Yeah.
Something has to be done. You have to get more vets in here that can ultimately just play better defense.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at the problems that they were having, when you look, even just if you look at nothing other than the box score from the game, I mean, you got, like you mentioned, Kobe White just kind of came out, decent player, right? But I mean, not the kind of guy that should be
Popping off, what did he have, 44?
He had 42.
42?
He went for a 40 burger on him, right? I mean, so that's not the kind of player that you expect to go for a 40 burger on you, you know, and he did that. But they gave up 40 points in the first quarter of the game, too. And not, as I was watching the game, I mean, much like the entire season, they were last in the NBA as far as points given up per game coming into the game last night. And like I said, they stayed true to form because 40 first quarter points they gave up, and they were down 18 after the first quarter. That set the tone for the entire night, right there. I mean, they couldn't stop anything. Like, with all due respect to the Chicago Bulls players, I mean, DeMar DeRozan's a good player. He's been a good player for a long time. But Kobe White should not be going for 40-plus points on you, right? I mean, Vujacic, nice player once again, but he went for 24. Andre Drummond, it was like turn back the clock the way he was swatting shots last night.
It was funny, too. I think the best tweet I saw was, it's crazy to go on a 14-0 run and you're still down by 4.
Yeah, I mean, it was that kind of game as I was watching them. And so I know so many people have talked about, like we just said, sweeping changes in this offseason. I can totally see this team going in a lot of different directions. I mean, just from when you look at it, I mean, you talk about Trae and DeJounte. We've had enough of a sample size to see that doesn't work, that backcourt. I mean, so I think they're going to have to make a decision there. Obviously, Trae Young is the franchise player.
My question to you would be, would you keep Trae or keep DeJounte?
That's hard. I mean, okay, so I think when it was just DeJounte, we saw the team maybe even run a little bit better. When it was just DeJounte, they got some wins, but I think we all understand that more things go into these decisions than just what takes place on the basketball court, right? So although I think DeJounte Murray gives you something on both ends that Trae doesn't give you, Trae Young is a star. He's a young, I don't know, I kind of hesitant to say superstar, but he's a young star in this league.
Offensively, he's better than DeJounte.
Yeah, I mean,
the way he's able to score, but also get other people involved and give them scoring opportunities is so crucial that now obviously he's a detriment defensively, but
I think you can cover that up though.
Yeah,
like I think
you have to get the right people here,
right.
And I think that's the issue. The only other thing, and I have never heard anything or whatever, I'm just noticing what the outside narrative is. There's a lot of narratives around Trae that, you know, maybe he's not likable. People in the league don't like him. Is there even validity to that? How do him and Quinn get along?
Yeah.
And how does that affect the locker room? If guys in the locker room don't like him, it doesn't matter if you keep him or DeJounte. You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a culture shift, I think, a little bit.
Well, I do agree with that, but we know how the NBA goes, right? I mean, the NBA is ran by superstar players, by your star players, right? So if upper management or ownership looks at Trae Young as a commodity and go, he's the face of the franchise, he's the guy that people identify the Atlanta Hawks by. So even if you're not winning the way you want to, remember a couple years back, this team was in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they were a couple wins away from the NBA Finals with Trae Young being the star player. So you can win with Trae Young, but you don't know if you can win with DeJounte and some of those other pieces. I think the move probably would be to trade DeJounte Murray, maybe for a bigger guard, maybe more defensive guard.
I hear you, and you might agree with this too. Trae is a superstar. He's a star.
He's a star.
Okay.
Yeah.
The caveat about Trae is he can't do it alone. LeBron James can do it alone. Kevin Durant can do it alone at times. There's guys that can do it alone. Because of Trae's inability to defend, because of his size and whatnot, he does need people around him to succeed, to be a superstar, not just a star. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the guys who you named, though, those are, look, I mean, at the end of the day.
But those are the superstars.
Right. I mean,
that's what I'm getting at. That's why there's a level there to me of like, the
Sure.
superstars can do it themselves. I don't think Trae in this league will ever be able to do it himself. Now, that doesn't discredit that he's prolific and, a star in his own
Yeah.
right and how he alters an offense and how hard he is to guard. But, yeah.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying because there's levels to this, right? I mean,
Yeah.
so you have your elite level stars like Giannis, LeBron, Jokic, guys who are 1A without question centerpieces for championship teams. And then you have like that, even Steph Curry, kind
Yeah.
of too.
Yeah.
But then you have the next tier guys who they can be a best player for a championship team if everything else is right around them. So, yeah I think Trae does fall into that category. But I don't even think DeJounte falls into that category of
Correct.
So
I'm with you.
And that's why I think that they will move forward with Trae Young, and I think they'll seek to build the kind of team around Trae that can get back to that level. Because, like you said, I mean, there's only a few guys in the league who are on that tier as far as LeBron and Giannis and those guys.
Correct. I'm also interested, though, would there ever be a world where Trae Young's like, I want to be traded?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always possible.
He might
right?
be fed up with whatever the situation is.
He just might be because, I mean, bigger stars than Trae Young have requested trades. I mean, last offseason, remember, Dame Lillard requested a trade from Portland.
James Harden has requested how many trades?
Yeah, I mean, James Harden, guys like that, Kyrie Irving. I mean, guys who have won championships and guys who have been league MVPs in the NBA have requested trades before. So, yeah, I don't put it past Trae Young to maybe, be looking at a different situation. Maybe he thinks a different situation is better for himself. I don't know, but I do believe that if he wants to be an Atlanta Hawk, he'll be an Atlanta Hawk because he has the name value. He's the identifiable, bless you. He's the identifiable name with the Hawks franchise.
Yep.
Look, when you look around town and you see, when you go to games, whose jersey do you see most kids wearing in the stands? Trae Young.
Yeah.
So I mean.
Dominique Wilkins.
Well, yeah, that's right. He played back when I was a very small kid. So, yeah, I mean, I think that'll be the move. I think they'll hold on to Trae, and I think they'll seek to build the team around Trae this offseason because
they have to at this point.
They have to in the NBA. That's kind of what you do. So, obviously, it was probably a pretty somber locker room and post-game yesterday after they got beat by the Bulls. So let's take you out to last night's post-game and hear from Coach Quinn and about a very, very tough loss that ended their season.
A few shots just stopped falling kind of in that second half because you guys got back into it. We're down by 5 and we're a couple possessions away from getting back into it.
Yeah, I felt, we didn't start well. So a lot of times when you're playing catch-up, it takes a lot of energy. And it felt like when we did cut the lead, as you mentioned, at a certain point we just ran out of gas. And, you want to dig down deep for, a playoff game. But hats off to Chicago. They played well. And obviously not the result we wanted, but very appreciative of our guys and feel grateful to have an opportunity to coach them and be the coach of the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too far away from the game really quickly, but for you to kind of go through this full season with all of the ups and downs, what's your biggest takeaway from how this team competed, how they grew, and how they
I think that's what you want. You want to grow and try to get better, and regardless of what you're handed, whether it's the dealing with adversity and embracing it on some level is what you want to do. And I thought our guys did that throughout the course of the year. So like I said, I'm proud of them and their approach, and obviously let this settle in. And
Feels like the Bulls kind of threw a lot at you guys too, whether it was DeRozan, whether it was Kobe, who goes off for how much he did, and DeSumo and Russo, and all of that starting five, just they seem to kind of stretch you guys thin a little bit. What did you see from the defense?
Well, DeMar started really, making shots, and you're game planning to, try to get the ball out of his hands if it's appropriate. We did a bunch of different things, and eventually some of the DeSumo and obviously Kobe White and pick and roll. A number of things that challenged us. Thought our offense hurt our defense at times. They were really good in transition when they made their runs, and that's a hard one to quote-unquote game plan against. But like I said, anytime you commit two to the ball in whatever situation, it puts you in positions where you have to close out, and people are driving you. And that was kind of a consistent theme. And if you don't do that, you saw Kobe White getting into the lane. And so a lot of things we can pick apart that we need to do better. But bottom line is that we had a group that competed, and as you said, went through a lot together, and hopefully that'll make us better going forward.
As far as DeAndre's night, not what you guys were hoping for, but what did you see from him that he tried to fight through to try to keep giving you guys something?
Yeah, I thought. We were worried about he stayed out of foul trouble. I thought he'd get a good job on DeMar. The shots he hit early were contested. They were tough shots, and he's capable of doing that. We had a lot of guys. I know we wanted to play a little better collectively, and that's probably true of a lot of guys individually as well.
Last one, I don't want to keep you too long, but I know one thing we were worried about was just Trey's conditioning, coming back. This is his fourth game back from injury. Just, it seemed like he still needed an adjustment period, or did he seem like he had his legs under him tonight?
It's hard. I don't know. It was more of a collective thing, I think, that we reached a point where they put so much pressure on the rim, and we had to respond offensively, and we did for a while there. And then, if you struggle to if you're not getting stops, we made some plays, and a few times, like you said, had opportunities that we didn't convert, and that's essential, to score on the other end when we're undersized a little bit and playing against a team that shot the ball. I don't know what they were from three. But it felt like they made open looks when we were in rotations and things. And as I said, I think the biggest thing was, driving the ball. They were on the rim a lot.
To end, but when you look back on everything that you guys have been through for it to come down to this, what would you say was your biggest takeaway for this season in the game?
The biggest takeaway? We didn't. At the beginning of the year, we didn't feel like we'd be in this position. Obviously, injuries made it tough on us, and we were able to still be in this position and to give ourselves a chance, and just didn't come out and make enough plays. And that's just part of it. They were making a lot of plays. Kobe got going. Vucevic was playing really well. Everybody really played really well. So you got to tip their hats to them. But yeah, it's tough.
You have a team like the Bulls that kind of stretched you guys thin defensively. How do you try to make adjustments on who to try to close out to, or who to just kind of maybe focus your attention on?
Yeah, it's hard. It's not a series. It's a one-game type of thing. So you can't really switch too many things up throughout the game. And we had a game plan and followed it, but we had to switch some things. Obviously certain guys got hot, and so just kind of switching throughout the game, and some guys stayed high, and they just kept making plays. So, it's tough sometimes.
You said you can't really adjust too much because it's a one-game series, but you kind of went without the brace in that second half. Just what was that feeling, and what maybe affected you in the first half that made you make that decision?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think I wasn't being as aggressive to start the game, and I had a few turnovers and was just thinking about it too much, just my hand, and so I just took the brace off. And my doctor was probably not be happy with me. She's probably just happy I made it through the game, but yeah, it was just frustrating to begin the game, and just kind of took it off to kind of just have my mind and not even think about it anymore.
For you guys to get it down to 5 as close as you guys did in first half, and then you kind of get it within 6, I think, in the second half. What would you say was maybe the turning point where things kind of maybe fell off a little bit for you?
I mean, the NBA is a game of runs. I mean, just like they made runs and they were above. I mean, beating us pretty bad early. We came back in the game and made it a game too. We had a run. So, but it's just tough. I mean, when you get down that much, fighting that way, I mean, that hard to get back in the game, it's tough to take the lead too. So we put ourselves in a tough situation, and I mean, it's tough because I feel like we had a good chance, but we put ourselves in a tough situation, and they played really well and shot the lights out.
What is your biggest takeaway from you guys getting back in the game and then kind of going apart in that third quarter?
We got stops, played together, stayed confident, kept our head up, and we got back in the game and then got back out of the game. That's it.
When you have a team that has so many guys that can kind of stretch a defense, then how do you try to make adjustments in a game that's win or go home?
Say it again.
When they have a defense or a guy.
All right, so obviously tough loss for the Hawks last night, but we'll see what they do in the offseason moving forward. I have a feeling it's going to be a very eventful offseason for them. So NFL draft just 1 week away. This is one of my favorite times of the entire year. I love the NFL draft, but just because with so many of these things, you don't really know what's going to happen, right? So I think it's pretty clear. I think we have a pretty good idea who's going number 1 overall. The Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback, most likely slated to go right to the Bears at number 1 overall. That second spot is what sort of has everyone kind of like, what might happen there? Because you have the Washington Commanders with a lot of different quarterback options, right? I mean, you have Drake May, who everyone seems to love from North Carolina, where some people may be on the fence about him a little bit. I don't really know. But Jaden Daniels, the LSU quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner, right? So he seems to be getting a lot of attention from teams from Washington, but many other teams. I mean, the Vikings today flying out to meet with him, and so the Patriots are said to have a strong interest in Jaden Daniels too. So when you think about the different possibilities with that number 2 position, Washington in the driver's seat. Now that's been a team who has they've been searching for a quarterback for a long time, a franchise quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how things shake down a week from tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a quarterback I would want to talk to, it would be Jaden Daniels. I'm not fully buying into the hype of Caleb Williams.
That's how I feel about Drake May, personally.
I mean, that too. I didn't really think that was like a legitimate option, to be honest. I get
Trubisky.
he is, but no, thank you. I think Jaden Daniels could become the real deal in the right circumstance. I think circumstances play a lot into quarterback success.
For sure.
But he's the most athletic I see of that quarterback class.
Yeah, I mean, just watching him at LSU last year, obviously we covered the SEC. He was big time. I mean, he seems to have all the tools. He's got the arm. He has the athleticism. I think Washington, I remember had to be about 10 years ago, right? When they probably more than 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when they drafted RG3. And he dazzled in that rookie year. It's a shame his career kind of got off track after that injury. But when you look at the impact he had in Washington, imagine 12 years later you bring in a quarterback with similar skills and tools like Jaden Daniels. That's why I would take a number 2. I don't even know why Drake May is in this discussion, right? I mean, I watched Drake May a couple times throughout the season. I'm surprised he's being brought up.
I didn't think he was. Pick. Yeah, I'm with you. I don't believe in him.
No, I mean, he's really giving me some serious Mitchell Trubisky vibes, and that really bothers me because I covered Mitchell Trubisky when he was in high school back in the Cleveland area, and so it really kind of pained me to watch him go as high as he did a few years ago because I didn't even think he was that good. For me, this is like history repeating itself because in watching Drake May, I don't get what all these analysts see. I mean, I've watched him play 3 or 4 times last season. I came away real underwhelmed. Like, when you watch a quarterback who's supposed to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft, you want to watch him, especially if he plays for a team that probably has lesser talent than some other
But
top-notch
that's
teams.
the thing that's also the thing, though. Think about it. Wasn't Patrick Mahomes like the 10th overall pick?
Yeah.
And the Chiefs traded up to get him. So he wasn't even a top 5 pick. He was actually super
true.
slept on. And that's the issue with quarterbacks is you don't really know what they're going to pan out to do.
That's
to
true.
be, you're just kind of clocking in on potential.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, look, when I watch Drake May in those games, I mean, like I said, I've seen him because obviously when the season starts, you hear everyone talking about who the top quarterbacks might be. And so I took time out to watch him a little bit. And when I watch a quarterback who might be a top 3 or 4 guy drafted, I want to see a guy that can put a team on his back and go. I want to see him making outstanding throws, outstanding plays, those kind of plays that you look and go, I can see why teams want to draft him that high. I didn't see one of those plays from Drake May. So
Also, I feel like
don't
all the
get it.
best quarterbacks have that I'm just stupid athletic gene.
Especially in today's NFL.
Of like, even though like I think Aaron Rodgers is even a great example of this. Like,
your guy.
even in the clutch moments, he's athletic enough to figure it out, whether that's
Right.
with his body or his mind.
Right.
It's the same thing with Patrick
Yeah.
Mahomes' no-look pass or him using his legs despite having what people are calling a dad bod. They have those genes.
Right. And I don't see it from Drake May, but look, I'm sure there's a lot of guys who get paid a lot of money to scout these guys who know a lot more than me. So I'll just leave it at that. So check this out. So, and I sent you this earlier. It was real
Yes.
funny. NFL.com, one of their guys, feels like the Kansas City Chiefs will make a move to go get Brock Bowers, the star UGA tight end.
Scott, nothing would make me salivate more
Than seeing that
than
happen?
watching Patrick Mahomes throw to Brock Bowers or
That'd be nuts.
Aaron Rodgers throwing to Brock Bowers. Those two quarterbacks getting a weapon like Brock Bowers, who they will love because Brock is just like
So gifted.
football to the bone in
Yeah.
every aspect.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be a thing of beauty.
See, I definitely, if Rodgers is healthy, obviously, because who knows what their situation is going to look like.
Listen,
this
he's
season.
got his mushrooms and herbs and essential oils. He's probably going to rub all on it.
I hope so, man. The guy couldn't even make it 5 plays last year, so we'll see.
Shots
But
fired.
I think Kansas City, that's like a perfect situation because when you think about the Chiefs, you obviously have a Hall of Fame tight end in Travis Kelce. Who better to learn from when you're coming into the NFL than Travis Kelce, a Hall of Famer, and you have Brock Bowers with a lot of those same abilities and talents of Travis Kelce. They can even play together for a year or so. I mean, that would be the ultimate weapon for Patrick Mahomes moving forward. And I think that's the kind of team that can afford a luxury pick, right? Because when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you just won a Super Bowl. You figure 3 of the last 5 Super Bowls they've won. So I think that's a team that can afford a luxury pick like a Brock Bowers. Just kind of have him on there with Travis Kelce, figure out ways to use them both nowadays right now, but also at the same time have him learn from Travis what it takes to be an NFL tight end and what it takes to be great. And I think if you do that, that would be the cheat code for the next 4 or 5 years from the Kansas City Chiefs. They could run off another couple Super Bowls. Let's be real.
I mean, saying Brock Bowers could be better than Travis Kelce seems like something crazy to say.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far.
But I think it could happen.
Okay.
I do. I'm not ready to commit to that right now because he's so young. But
neither.
I think Brock Bowers is more athletic than Travis Kelce. I think Brock Bowers would be a better blocker in the league than Travis Kelce.
Okay.
So if he can make the connection with Mahomes work, then who's to say not?
Hey, well, you know what they say about potential. It's another word for ain't did nothing yet, right? No, I'm just joking. But we'll see. Hey, Atlanta United this weekend, they're at home against Cincinnati.
Yes, at home against Cincinnati. GG back on the practice field. He could return. He's been out for a few games with that bone bruise. So they talked about that and keeping the pedal to the metal heading into this weekend.
I think when you look at the overall game, our football was good. Our in other areas, in terms of second balls, in terms of attentiveness in, whether it's the middle third, the defensive third, even the final third, those areas can be better.
Okay. Anything in, specific about those things, or?
No, just that.
Okay.
Just that. Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that IFAB is considering some goalkeeper rules changes about holding onto the ball and things like that. I was curious if you had any thoughts on those.
Listen, I've not seen that. I saw a tweet this morning. We need to try to implement all the rules for 90 minutes of a game, not just when we feel it's appropriate.
Okay.
So.
That's fair.
Looking ahead to Saturday in Cincinnati, Lucho Acosta always has big games against Atlanta. What makes him so dangerous?
I think his ability to find just pockets of space, gaps in between the lines. Obviously, his ability on the ball is very good to be able to either pick a final pass, be in the right spot in terms of an opportunity on goal. He's a player that as you're attacking, you've got to keep an eye on and make sure you're aware of where he's at on the field, kind of at all times. Because, like I said, at any moment he could pop up in these gaps, in these spaces, and he can hurt you with a pass or a shot, or just linking, their back line to their front line, and before they know it, they're running at you with numbers.
What has it been like to watch Noah Cobb really develop and grow in that center back position the past couple weeks?
Yeah, I've said before, obviously when you get game experience, right, when you're in these real situations, they're always going to help a player develop, whether they're good moments, they're bad moments, they're real moments, and those types of plays only help players improve. And so I think that's certainly been the case for him and has helped him, grow rather quickly. There's still obviously tons of room for improvement in terms of his growth and understanding the game, but being in these environments, it's only going to help him continue to get better and be the player we know he can be.
How difficult is it to find continuity with the international break coming so early in the season, injuries? Just how difficult for you as the captain and obviously the commander of the defensive front, just handling all of these moving parts as far as the roster?
Yeah, I think, listen, throughout a season, whether it's international windows, whether it's injuries, I've always said we believe in every guy that's in the locker room, and when those types of things pop up, whether it's the international window, whether it's injuries, whether it's rotation, whether it's the manager's decision, we believe in the guys that step on the field, and in those instances, it's no different. So we've got all the confidence in the world in anyone that steps on the field for us.
Commander of the defensive front should be your social media.
I don't know about that. Put that in the thinking box.
10 years ago today, Arthur Blank in Atlanta received the MLS franchise here. You were in England at the time. I was curious, was this something that it even crossed your mind that you might one day end up being here?
Listen, in soccer and in football, you never say never. You never know what's around the corner. Obviously when you see that, a franchise like Atlanta United is the city of Atlanta has been awarded a franchise, and there's going to be a team and a club here. And when you have the backing of someone like Arthur Blank in terms of his support and his backing, things are looking up, for this city, for the league in general. And so we want to continue to push those boundaries and continue to lift the bar of the league and of the sport. And
all right, real quick, Bailey, before we can get out of here until tomorrow, what's on your mind?
Braves starting a 9-game homestand.
Nice.
They have the world champs Texas Rangers in town. After that, it's the Marlins and then the Guardians.
I keep the Guardians. Got the Guardians coming to town.
Got the Guardians coming to town, your old squad.
I might have to go watch the Guardians. They've been playing some good ball here early in the season. I don't know if it still stands, but they had the best record in baseball, I think, as of yesterday.
I think the Braves do now.
Oh, all right. Well, that's okay. The Guardians coming to town, and we'll see how that goes. Look, it's a win either way. If the Guardians win, I'm happy. If the Braves win, I'm happy.
There you go.
It's all good. Well, that's been Sports Tonight here on this Thursday. Bailey, it's always fun, right?
Yes, it
We'll be
is.
right back at you tomorrow to end the week. Until then, have a good rest of your Thursday, everybody.